Hello there, welcome to Speaking of Business. I'm your host, Nancy Boyle, and we're going to talk about a unique way of expanding your business. Joining me are Kevin Monahan with the Small Business Development Center at UNF and Brad Bellingraf with Global Productions. So welcome, fellas.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Kevin, I'm going to start with you. Tell us about you and SBDC and what you do.
Well, I am Kevin Monahan. I'm with the Small Business Development Center at the University of North Florida, where I serve as Special Projects Director and a Certified Business Analyst. A Special Project Director in my role is to do all the weird stuff that nobody else wants to do.
Okay. That's sort of whetting the audience's appetite here. We might have to get into weird stuff later. Brad, tell us about you and Global Productions.
Well, it's Global Presentations.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem. We are a webcasting company. We typically capture and record or live webcast presentations that come from conferences, conventions, any type of training and education. So we do that. We marry presenter with usually a computer component of some kind, maybe PowerPoint or whatever, and put that up online for people to be able to view and consume.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this? You've been doing it a while, right?
Yeah, since 2005 or so. We first started doing it and actually formed a company to do it exclusively in 2008, Global Presentations.
Okay. And what we're talking about is sort of this new aspect of your business.
Yes.
So why don't you share with us a little bit about that?
You know, many businesses have peaks and valleys, and we are unlike, like most businesses have those peaks and valleys. So we decided to add a component to the business, which is a webcasting component where we actually produce our own content instead of content for other people.
Okay.
And that content in this case is for people with diabetes and their, at any type of health or wellness type programming, educational programming, so we do that.
So it's kind of keeping in line with your core business. It's just taking a little diversion.
Jumping onto the content side of it ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So Kevin, what intrigued you about this whole concept of what Brad's doing?
Well, first of all, I think the idea has legs. In other words, it's a good idea. I'm also for any business that diversifies their revenue streams, especially in this economy. It's always a good idea to do something else. And frankly, from his description of it to me the first time that we met, I recognized that he was passionate about it. It's somewhat cause-related for profit, which is a trend that we see more and more of anyway. So I was intrigued by that. I thought that was interesting and something I want to share. Doing his own content about something that he cares about, which means he's got control over it more than anybody else, I think that's probably a lot of fun for him.
Okay. So let's go back to, it's called D-Meetings.
D-Meetings, yes.
Okay. And so why don't you walk us through that process of what led you to do this in the first place?
Sure.
And then how it evolved.
Yep. So the short story is actually I was diagnosed with diabetes 5 years ago. And after kind of wrestling with that and dealing with that, I received some education, but just wanted more.
Okay.
There wasn't enough out there for me to really latch onto and try to better manage and control my diabetes. So I said, wow, that's a great idea. Somebody ought to do that one day, is have more of an ongoing program, and just kept coming back to that concept. And one day I decided to take the step and start to do a little research and connected some dots together with my webcasting company.
Okay.
And then was able to basically form a diabetes program, a wellness program that is online for people to better manage their diabetes.
So let's say I'm recently diagnosed and I saw you on TV and now I want to find out more. How do I do that? Where do I go?
So our website is dmeetings.com.
Okay.
And it's actually, we're still in early stages, so it's more of a landing page and not quite a website. But we're in the process of developing content and testing that on folks with diabetes, measuring their improvements and better managing their disease. So that's basically what we're doing and where you can find us.
I think something that's interesting about the website when you go there, and it certainly is in development stages, this is really new, that's why we're here. is that it's not just lectures, it's interactive, it's an exchange, it's built to be a narrative between people who are either going through the same process or somebody's been there and mentoring through that, whatever the exchange is going to be. So I see value in that.
Okay. Okay. Now, do you foresee, once you've gotten this template done, I mean, is anything ever done? But I mean, you've gotten it to the point where, you're comfortable that it's mostly complete. Do you foresee perhaps looking at another illness and being able to kind of clone this concept for something
no
else?
doubt. I mean, diabetes is a huge problem, and over 26 million people have it here in the country, with another 75 million that have pre-diabetes. So it's a huge market, and I anticipate that we'll be, in this for quite some time. But there are other content ideas that, this program is a membership model.
Okay.
So we would potentially extend this kind of programming as a membership model into other applications as well. We've been talking about several. But just with diabetes, we have different languages, different demographics that we could tailor the content to. So we have a lot before us.
So how is that impacting your core business, Global Presentations?
Definitely divided.
Okay.
I work on both sides of the business right now as we get this new division up and running, and continue to serve the existing division. We're down in South Florida next week, doing a conference down there. But we just kind of juggle and starting to get this other program up and running.
Okay. And Kevin, I want to go back to you because obviously you've been working with Brad on this project, but you work with a variety of businesses.
Sure.
And are you seeing this as kind of a trend in business where you have a core business? Fortunately, for a lot of businesses such as Brad's, they made it over the hump kind of some of the economic challenges that we've had recently. Are you seeing this as a trend in the clients that you're working with?
Well, I see a couple of trends, yes. I see people looking for and coming up with and/or hearing and writing down other ideas for revenue streams to even out their earnings. So it doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's somewhat related, and these certainly are. His two venues are related for the business model that he's doing. But these new ideas come from all different inspirations. This one is quite obvious.
Right.
Others are, people just discover them on a lark and explore that and research it, and that's where market research comes in and everything else. But there's also another factor here also, and in this particular case, this has no reflection on any other deliverer of diabetes information or other nonprofits that address diabetes or anything like that. But there's a breed of entrepreneur that wants to do good in the community. And they're kind of bypassing the traditional nonprofit model in order to do that. And they're trying to take action themselves to fill gaps they perceive are out there. And again, I'm not even saying that that's Brad. I'm telling you that that's something
sort of in general.
That we're seeing out there. On the West Coast, there are new, relatively new, it's actually been around a couple of years, company designations called an LC3. An LC3 is a private firm that does not necessarily serve the sole purpose of creating money for the shareholders, that it actually has a cause. An example would be 4 business people get together in Seattle. They decide that there should be a bike rack at every mass transit station in the city, and they just do it.
Interesting. Is there like voluntrepreneur or something that's evolving out of this?
Something's telling me there's a word evolving here.
Sounds like it.
We'll have another show on that.
Okay. Well, and certainly you've been involved very much with the SBDC's program, working with nonprofit organizations. Do you see this similar kind of thing in your nonprofit?
Well, sure.
businesses?
It's a two-way street, isn't it? We certainly see a lot of entrepreneurial nonprofit organizations. Nonprofits, unlike a regular business that have a product and a service, have 8 different ways that they can get money, grants being one of them, and I can name the other 8 if you force me to. But one of them is self-derived income. And so in many cases, you'll see them open a farm, open a store, open a cafe, that kind of thing. So they're thinking along the same ways. Nonprofits have had a tough time in this recession. Also,
Sure.
Giving was down. Everything else, services still had to be part. More people wanted those services than ever before. So yes, it's a two-way street.
Okay. And so, Brad, let's get back to the D meetings because, you've been evolving this and developing it. What kind of response are you getting?
Oh, my goodness, it's tremendous. We work with what are called CDEs, which are Certified Diabetes Educators.
Okay.
And so they're on the front lines of this every day. And I get a pulse on the market, so to speak, all the time through the people who develop content for me and the people who are actually on camera.
Okay.
So they're CDEs, and I hear, great things. We are still in the early stages of the product, and in fact, going through the process of funding, looking for partners, whether they be advisory board members, subject matter experts, even financial partners. So we're still in the process of developing this, but our actual launch date, where we start to acquire clients, is May 15th, which is only
Okay.
a couple of weeks away.
So you're just getting ready to kick this off.
Yes. So we've been working at it for a year or two, and just really excited about it. I think it's going to really help a lot of people and maybe earn a little money along the way.
Now, but let's be clear, you did not form a nonprofit organization.
No, this is for profit,
Okay.
and it's just a division of my existing company,
Global Presentations.
Yep.
Okay. And so now that you're kind of working your way through this process of creating this secondary
Yes.
related business, what kind of tips do you have for folks who might be thinking about doing something similar?
Well, similar in adding an additional revenue stream or additional division or business model to your business. I can't encourage people enough if they feel like, for me, I had peaks and valleys and wanted to level those off, so came up with this model and stayed along the same lines as our existing business model. And but to some degree, forming a new business, maybe not really, but it is a whole new dynamic, a whole new way of marketing this product.
Now, before Brad did this, of course, he did a lot of research. Adding a revenue stream has costs associated
Sure.
with it. Some are
Yep.
high, some are low,
Yep.
but they certainly have to be taken into consideration, and timing is an issue with that as well. Two things that he took into account when he was doing this.
Okay.
doubt, no doubt.
Do you have any tips for anybody out there thinking about going off in a slightly different direction?
Sure, seek help. I mean,
Yeah.
get
Yes.
some advice from other people. Other people have been through this. Do some research on the website. It's amazing how quickly you can find other people that are doing something similar, either in another state or somewhere else. We don't invent the wheel very often, nor should we. So get tips from that, and then go to people like SCORE, the SBDC, other people that either have been through it themselves or know other people who have or have had clients who are currently, and take them up on that advice.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Brad, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your new venture.
Thank you. Really
it
looking
sounds
forward to
like
it.
it's going to be really successful.
thanks.
So, and you in the audience, don't go away. We'll be right back in just a minute.
I'm Mayor Alvin Brown, here to tell you about the City of Jacksonville's first mobile app to help you prepare for hurricane season. Jax Ready helps you monitor fire and weather threats, get evacuation alerts in the event of a natural disaster, and much more. This app was developed by the city's Information Technologies Division and the Emergency Preparedness Division to help you stay safe this hurricane season.
Hello there. Welcome back to Speaking of Business. Again, I'm your host, Nancy Boyle. We're going to take a little different slant. And the second half of our show, we're going to be talking about accessing money. So joining me are Tracy DeVac with Navy Federal Credit Union and Jamie Dockster with Waddell & Reed. Welcome. So we're going to take a little bit from expansion, although with expansion, you need some money. So we'll get into that in just a second. But Tracy, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Navy Federal?
I am Business Development Officer, and we offer account and lending solutions for our members that also own small businesses. So we offer the accounts they need, and we can also finance anything they need to grow their business, from real estate to credit cards to vehicles.
Okay, and your membership is limited to?
We serve the Department of Defense, active and retired, which is Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, and DoD civilians, and then also their immediate family members.
Okay. And Jamie, tell us about what you do.
I'm a financial planner. I work with small business owners primarily and their families. We help them through retirement planning as well as business succession issues.
Okay. All right, Tracy, I want to come back to you because you're our loan expert today.
Okay.
And let's talk about the lending arena. First of all, can you tell us what's the difference between a traditional bank and a credit union?
The difference between a credit union and a bank is a credit union is owned by its members, so
Okay.
our profits go back to the members in the form of reduced loan rates and higher dividends, and less fees than what you would typically have at a bank.
Okay. And so when it comes to lending, though, probably fairly similar to a bank when we're talking loans and getting money and
Yes.
having the right criteria in order to qualify?
We generally have the same documentation requirements as a bank does. You know, we look for tax returns, personal financial statement, you know, business plan. The documentation's pretty standard for both.
Okay, so what are you looking at in a loan proposal? If I'm coming to you and I need to borrow money for my business, and I obviously it's different if I'm just starting a business versus I've been around for a few years. So what do you look for in those loan proposals?
Well, the first thing we're going to look at is the cash flow for the business. You know, any existing cash flow and projected cash flow from the business. That's the most important thing. And everything's going to be outlined in their business plan, so the business plan is very important. And we want to see those projections of their cash flow. And after that, we're going to want to see their capital injection. We want to know that they have some skin in the game. You know, if we're going to take a risk, we want them to be taking a risk as well. Kind of makes them, you know, work a little harder to make it work because they have something on the line as well. We look for collateral, just an additional guarantee for the loan in case they are not able to repay it with the cash flow. And then we also look for conditions. You know, what are the conditions in the market for the type of industry that they're going into? You know, does it make sense?
Okay.
And then also we look at their character, you know, their previous credit payment history and character.
Character is very important.
It is very important, yes.
You know, I think a lot of people don't realize that is important.
Definitely.
Jamie, I want to come over to you because you're working with business owners as well. And so what are some of the things you're seeing with your business owners? We're talking about kind of typical loans here, but are you seeing that people are getting a little creative, perhaps, with things over and above what might be considered a typical loan through a bank or a
Well,
credit
they are
union?
getting more creative. Some of them are, you know, some of them are selling off assets that are, you know, not needed in the business anymore due to the recession and raising cash that way rather than, you know, going to the bank and borrowing more. Other ones are, you know, looking at partnering up with maybe a competitor and, you know, so there's some of that going on in the marketplace.
Okay, and you guys are here because there's an event coming up that we want to share with our audience. So why don't we start off with you, Jamie, and tell us a little bit about what the Small Business Resource Network, who is sponsoring this event, is all about.
Well, the Small Business Resource Network is an organization of bankers, attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, and insurance people that help small business owners in the community. They go through a vetting process so that we know they have the experience in order to provide those services. And it's a resource that a business owner can go to, almost a one-stop shopping, and find all the resources they need to operate their business more effectively.
Okay, and so Tracy, coming up is what?
Breakfast with the experts, the
Okay.
lending experts.
So let's talk about this event because it's more than just breakfast, right? So you guys want to just tell me about it?
Well, it gives potential business owners the opportunity to talk to people that make those decisions, to people that they, you know, would be turning their application into, you know, whoever their lender may be. We can give them advice, we can tell them what they're looking for. You know, it's better to be prepared than to submit everything and then find out you have a problem, you know. So it helps prepare them for the loan process and gives them ideas and suggestions on how to research their business and make sure it's something that's viable.
Okay, and Jamie, why don't you kind of walk us through the agenda
Well,
of
the
the day?
format is going to be, besides just breakfast, of course, but the format's going to be roundtable discussions with particular sponsors. We're going to have sponsors at each table, which would be the various banks and credit unions and alternative financing lenders will be there to talk to the table participants about what it is that they do, what they're looking for, and then the sponsors will get up and move to another table, so you'll basically spend an hour and a half of having free discussion and consultation to learn about what it is that you need to do when you want to go approach a lending expert.
Okay. And will there be any kind of presentation or any kind of information just in general disseminated?
Well, I guess the information that's going to be disseminated is just what Tracy was saying about what it is that you need to do to be prepared to bring to presenting a banker with what it is that your project's going to be, whether it be the business plan, the financials, tax returns, et cetera, besides just the formal loan application.
Okay. So I'm guessing then that you would have experts that could talk about traditional lending, SBA lending. And maybe, Tracy, you can address that. SBA lending, you know, I think everybody out there has heard of SBA and are familiar with it, but I think there's probably some misconceptions. So why don't you kind of share with our audience how that process works?
There definitely is some misunderstanding out there, because we'll get a phone call, you know, do you do the Patriot Express loan? You know, yes, we do, but you know, we're going to look to see that if we can do the loan first. And if there's a missing piece, if there's a lack of collateral, that's where we may look for the SBA guarantee. So the borrower doesn't go directly to the SBA for SBA lending. That's what the financial institution does. It's an additional guarantee and backing for the lender. And it's just an opportunity for the borrower to be able to put down less cash injection in some instances, and also, you know, have some favorable terms depending on, you know, the type of loan they're doing, because it is a more secure loan for the lender.
Well, and I would think it brings a level of comfort to the bank or the lender that's the first position on this in this situation, to feel like, okay, well, I've got this guarantee. If something happens here, I'm going to get something back.
Right.
Okay. So, and now when is the event?
The event is going to be on June 13th. It's at the University of North Florida at the University Center. It's going to be from 8 o'clock until 11, and we'll get you out of there promptly.
Okay. And if somebody wants more information?
Well, if somebody wants more information, they should go to the website, which is sbrn.org, and there's information right on the front page there. That's the easiest way to go.
Okay. Well, so we got that information out there. Now, you had mentioned, can't remember the term that you used, maybe non-traditional financing or alternative financing.
Alternative financing.
So what might be some examples of that?
Well,
I
some
think a lot of
examples
people
of
aren't
that
aware.
might be like, for instance, factors. A factor is somebody who will actually buy an invoice from the company and then turn around and advance that money to the business owner so that they don't have to wait 60 or 90 days to get paid. So they can either buy materials or pay their people or whatever it is that they need to do. So that's one example.
Okay. Now, I thought it was real interesting this last weekend, the whole OneSpark event. I know, Tracy, you were out of town, so you weren't able to go to that. And this concept of crowdfunding, where people can kind of go online and donate money, if you will, into this pool, and then it's turned around and given to the participants, in this case, the OneSpark. Jamie, were you at the event?
I wasn't at it, but I am familiar with the crowdfunding concept, and right now, you know, the normal process of a company to raise funds would be either to go to family and friends and get some seed money or go to an angel investor, and this is a way of reaching out through the internet and saying, okay, I can go out to the whole world and anybody can donate to my cause to help me get this project off the ground. So then I could go then see a Tracy and say, okay, Tracy, can you get me some money for the rest of it? Now I've got some backing, or I've got a prototype built of my project. And I know that the SEC is involved in evaluating this whole thing to see if they could put some rules in place where stock could actually be issued to the person who, up to a limited amount for small funding, because right now the bigger companies will go out and do a public offering and it's very expensive, and typically, you know, you're looking at millions of dollars being raised, but this is, you know, something that the public can get involved in a project they believe in, and perhaps down the road, if the company's profitable, they could actually get a return on their investment.
Wouldn't it have been nice, 20 years ago or whatever it was, when Microsoft was just getting started?
Right,
I mean,
Micro-
you could buy one share in Microsoft and you'd be sitting pretty now.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how the SEC comes up with these rules about doing it, because we're in such a changing world with all the social media and how easy it is to let people know what it is that you're after.
Well, and it sounds like on June 13th at Breakfast with the lending experts that there'll be a lot of variety of topics that can be discussed. I mean, we're talking alternative lending here, some new things like this crowdfunding idea, the tried and true, the bank loans, the SBA loans, et cetera, et cetera. So aside from gaining information, do you have any kind of tips for somebody who might be interested in attending this event as to why they should?
I would just say that the more information that you can gather, the better. I mean, the more research you do, going into it, the better off you're going to be. In preparing your business plan, talking to people that have been through it, talking to lenders, and getting examples of, other issues they've encountered, generically speaking, with certain industries or things to look for. Make sure you have the experience in the field. That's become more important these days. A lot of businesses fail if they're not fully prepared. So I just say more knowledge, the better.
Well, I think it's interesting too is Navy Federal has certain parameters that they're going to lend on, and then another bank or another credit union might have different parameters. So while I might be in an industry that's not attractive to Navy Federal, I might be in an industry that another lender is lending in. So I would think the networking aspect of it would be very important.
That's a very good point, because some lenders, like, we'll do startup funding, but a lot of lenders won't, so it's a great opportunity to be in front of several lenders to find out who does have the appetite for what you're trying to do, because every lender is not going to be for every borrower. But
well, and I would think that with the wide variety of different banks and non-traditional lenders and financing opportunities, that maybe you could ferret through it all and find somebody that would be willing to finance whatever your business or project is.
absolutely.
So now,
Not to mention being able to ferret through that in about 2 hours.
right, exactly.
Instead of running around
Instead of
to each
running
one.
around to each one individually and be able to do
Kind
that.
of have the bankers coming to you rather than
Exactly.
you having to go
Right,
around
exactly.
to
And
the
I
bankers.
assume that they'll, besides Kevin Monahan, who was on the show earlier,
Yeah.
I know that he'll be there talking about some of the crowdfunding, but I know that there most likely is going to be other certified business analysts from the SBDC will be there on hand as well. So once someone needs some further help in putting together their business plan, they'll be able to make those contacts right there in the room.
Okay. And Tracy, you're the coffee sponsor, so why are you sponsoring this event?
We just feel it's a great opportunity to provide knowledge. We want to see businesses succeed, whether there are members or not, and to be able to provide necessary information for them to be prepared, to start their business. And we just think it's a great opportunity to support small businesses.
Well, good. Jamie, are there any other sponsors?
Well, there's the lead sponsor that we have for our entire Breakfast with the Experts for the year is Rick Balog and Tempuri CPAs here in Jacksonville. They're the lead sponsor, and then we have individual sponsors for each event. So we want to thank them for sure for all of our sponsors for making this very affordable for the business owner to come.
Now, speaking of affordable, what's the registration fee?
It's $35, and if you register by June 5th, you get an early bird discount, makes it $25.
Okay, so let's just recap real quickly. It's Breakfast with the Lending Experts, June 13th from 8 in the morning to 11 at the University Center at UNF. $35 fee or $25 if you register before June 5th.
Correct.
Excellent. I want to thank you for being here today. You in the audience, thank you for joining us today. And come back next time when we'll be speaking of business. Bye now.
She's a hoot. She really is. She's great. Yeah, she's very dynamic.
She came up to my mom at the Women's History Month thing and just blew her away, said some really nice things. My mom was, I felt so good after talking to her. That's what she does. Well, let me go down all my cards. No, well, it's not my speaking card, but it's my tomato card.
Your tomato card, that's a riot.
I don't have a tomato card. I wish I did. Well, I'm gonna give you one. There you go. There's a tomato card for you.
Sylvia, can I get a tomato card?
Yes, you absolutely can. Thank you. I learned a lot about water sources. Well, always wonder what y'all do. I'll give you one. Well, good. Anytime you'd like to know in greater detail.
Actually, you know what, we probably need to, we probably need to have one of you guys come and do something at a